Hey, peace everyone. Thanks for joining me here on Finding the Light. I'm a medical, and so we're going to be discussing, over the next few weeks, I'm going to be discussing Reverend Ike's book, The Science of Living Study Guide. Reason being is that in the foreword of the book, Reverend Ike recommends that people who are reading this book form study groups. And I believe this book was published back in 1984. I don't have it in front of me right at the moment. But this video is about how I found Reverend Ike and how he helped me. So I found him about 7 to 6 years ago when I was traveling in Asia. Reverend, I was studying positive thinking and positive motivational thinking, and YouTube, the YouTube algorithm will automatically select videos that are in line with something that you're already watching. So I stumbled onto Reverend Ike, and the thing that really caught my attention was the fact that he was basically taking motivational books, motivational material, and using and preaching them. Because if you read a lot of motivational books, they're boring. I enjoy motivational speakers. I'm not a Christian, but I appreciate people like T.D. Jakes, and I listen to a lot of motivational speakers, people like Zig Ziglar and Les Brown, Eric Thomas, and Tony Robbins have come to me and edified me when I was in some dark places, and another brother by the name of Ralph Smart. But Reverend Ike is such a prolific speaker, and a lot of people have commented on YouTube that he is a student of Neville Goddard. Now, I went to Neville Goddard based on Reverend Ike's video. So Neville Goddard is an individual who has some very amazing videos or lectures in reference to the Bible, and he is saying that the Bible is a psychology book, not you are God. Your imagination is God. What is in your mind, how you use your mind, is ultimately what will become manifested. Now, of course, I haven't been able to utilize this consistently and effectively always, but I kind of like was interested in Reverend Ike's teachings. I left it. I deviated away from it. Didn't really, utilize the teachings fully. And then when I came back to the United States, I found myself not doing well financially. And I returned to Reverend Ike's teachings, and within a few weeks, my life started to change. So I thought it would be a good idea now, while things are going well for me. I wanted to return to his teachings because I've been on an emotional high, studying a lot of his YouTube content, and I just purchased his book. So I wanted to take this time to share with other people. Perhaps this video will find you, and I'm going to be reviewing his book, The Science of Living Study Guide. I'm going to be reviewing this book, right? And as I mentioned, his book recommends that you form study groups. So hopefully some of the stuff that I review in the chapters, it will motivate you to buy his book. And hopefully it will just motivate you in general. And hopefully it can help somebody. I'm going to be talking about how I've used this. Again, so now this also, he is an advocate of the individual knowing that they are God. And this definitely falls in line with some of the teachings that Neville Goddard had. Your imagination is God. Your mind is God. Also, some of the teachings that I have received from the Nations of Gods and Earth. This is a group here that was founded in the United States, and it advocates that the so-called black person, the so-called black man, is God. All right, through the teachings, they come to understand that they of themselves are God, not some mystery God in the sky. And this heavily falls in line with a lot of Neville Goddard and Reverend Ike's teachings. The problem with Neville Goddard, man, a lot of his speeches are just boring. If you want to listen to some Neville Goddard, you're going to start falling asleep. He's not a bad person. He's just not a prolific speaker like Reverend Ike. Again, like I mentioned, I was living in a homeless shelter, and I wasn't the New York City homeless shelters are a blessing for people who are, who are back, maybe who are find themselves in between, living spaces and so forth. And I remember didn't have that winter. It was like 2 years ago. That winter, I was just struggling, and so I went back to Reverend Ike's teachings, and I started like using visualization. There is like a prayer treatment that he has, and when I say prayer, he's not talking about some God in the sky just using your mind just to see yourself. He has a prayer treatment, and you should really look at it. It's online. He talks about the theater of my mind. He talks about seeing yourself, and then you use this, and what happens is your life starts to change gradually. Now, immediately I was transferred to another homeless shelter, and then something that even this space I'm in now, I'm in a co-working space, right? This office that I'm in right now, I manifested this. And I think that that's why this video is so appropriate. I came to the owner, first of all, I don't want to get into it, but I manifested free office space for several months. All right, I'm not lying to you. And during that time, I was like on an emotional high with the teachings where I would do things like, I remember I was walking upstairs once and I had no money. And I said, man, I want some coffee. So I would go into Starbucks and just chill and write. And this lady asked me if she could buy me a cup of coffee. Now this actually happened. Another day that it happened where I manifested, I remember saying to myself, I'm hungry, I have no money, and I had the office space. And I was like, something just hit me. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna get some pizza today. Now in this office that I was going to, this particular space, it wasn't here. No one was eating pizza. I had no reference for that. Do you know that day, I sat in that office space. There was pizza there. Some guy came up to me and asked me if I wanted the last 2 slices of pizza. They weren't going to eat it. I'm telling you this because it happened. All right? And even this space, I started coming to this co-working space, and eventually I got to know the owner and worked out a deal where I would do some work for her, and she let me use the space for free. And this was critical for me when I was staying in the homeless shelter, because it was like a haven, a sanctuary for me mentally, where I could come and do my work and not have to. And then I was able to get myself improve my living situation. All right. I'm just making this a video not to pat myself on the back in any capacity, but I'm making this because I think that there is some kind of connection with the mind and what we manifest in life. My parents raised me as a Jehovah's Witness, and I am not interested in that religion at all, but there have been times when I have prayed for things, and I know other Jehovah's Witnesses who prayed for things, and these things manifested. And the reason that these things manifest is because they put it in their mind. The people who are in that religion, they thought that their prayers were going off to the sky somewhere, but really they were just putting it in their mind. And another funny thing that Jehovah's Witnesses do, they tell people to pray, right? But work in conjunction with your prayers. And it's like they already know. I think that these people behind these cults know that all you have to do is put these things in your mind and work and move in that direction, and these things will be manifested. So a lot of these people who are a part of some of these other religions, they believe that their prayers are manifested by some entity outside of them, when in fact it is not. It is their mind and what they do in conjunction with their thinking. All right, so you're welcome to join me as I review this book, and I would love to hear your comments and discussion about Reverend Ike and the science of living. All right, peace.